Every year on her birthday, Daphne asks her mother, Libby, to tell her the story of how her parents met. Libby tells young Daphne the story of how, once upon a time, she went out to Morocco to see the world. While walking through the desert, she slipped and fell down a slope, and a handsome young man saved her. His name was Henry. They fell in love at first sight. Libby and Henry spent the rest of their days in Morocco. They were madly in love and got married in a ceremony officiated by the chief of a Bedouin tribe. Henry brought Libby back to England so they could get married for real this time. But his family was not happy to see her. With Henry's father's sudden demise, Henry was tasked with the responsibility to lead his family. He became Lord Dashwood, and with the title came obligations and restrictions. Libby was not the kind of girl the royal family wanted around a lord. So, Libby was sent away by clever Alistair Price, Henry's advisor, who tricked her into believing that Henry did not want her around. Alistair convinced Henry that Libby had left him for another man. The two, unbeknownst of the truth about Alistair's trickery, had to separate. And a few months later, Libby was blessed with Daphne. Daphne is 15 years old now, but she still always asks her mother to tell her the love story of her parents. She kisses Henry's photo goodnight and wishes that she could meet him someday. At 17, Daphne works as a waitress at the weddings where Libby sings with her band. Once while working, Daphne hears the bride crying because she cannot find the groom. Then, Daphne stumbles upon him hiding under a table, totally drunk. He faints and Daphne rushes to cut a block of ice from the sculpture, that she then puts down his shirt to wake up the groom. With a start, he stands up and breaks into a dance to get the ice out of his shirt. The crowd watches him. Before he can arouse suspicion, Daphne begins to mimic his moves. Her mother catches her hint and starts singing. Everyone starts to dance, and Daphne avoids a crisis. She is a clever girl. Later, while cleaning the tables, Daphne gets recognized by a girl she went to school with. Daphne is not thrilled to see her at all. The girl follows her around and asks where Daphne's going to college. Daphne has not decided yet. Then, it is time for the father-daughter dance. Daphne watches with longing in her eyes as the bride dances with her father. Soon, all the fathers and daughters start to dance together, and Daphne gets emotional. She misses her dad. When the party ends, Libby consoles Daphne. She noticed her getting emotional. Daphne could not help it. Every father-daughter dance just makes her think of how she is never going to have something like that. Daphne is upset that Libby will not let her find Henry. Libby is only trying to protect Daphne. Daphne reminds her that it was Libby who left him. Libby counters that if Henry wanted to, he could have come after her. But he did not. Maybe he would have if he knew Daphne existed. Daphne is really upset. She feels like half of her is missing and without the other half, how is she supposed to know who she even is? Libby tries to make her understand that her DNA does not define who she is. It is about getting to know herself. But even though Daphne knows her mother loves her, she just cannot let it go. She has to find her father. So, at night, Daphne searches her father online. Then she books a ticket to London, and the next day leaves for Europe without telling her mother. She leaves her mother a voice note, informing Libby of her decision to find her dad. All her life Libby has been writing her story. It is Daphne's turn to do it now. Daphne finally is in London. With the help of a guidebook, Daphne finds a hotel. Inside the hotel, she gets drawn to a young man of her age, singing a melody. His name is Ian and they instantly become friends. He works the reception at the hotel. It is one of his many day jobs as a struggling musician. While Ian's giving Daphne a tour of the hotel, she hears the newscaster on the TV behind Ian, talking about her father. Henry appears on the news and Daphne smiles. It's her dad. The newscaster announces that Henry is giving up his hereditary seat in the House of Lords to run in the elections. As a commoner, Daphne watches the news with fascination and is happy to see her dad on it. But when the newscaster talks about Henry's fiancée and her daughter, who would soon be Henry's stepdaughter, Daphne's spirits deflate. On the other side, Henry is preparing for elections. Alistair is still his advisor and his daughter, Glenys, is the woman Henry is engaged to. She lives in his house with her daughter, Clarissa. Alistair and Glenys have a vested interest in Henry's political success. That is why they keep a close eye on Henry and his affairs. Daphne is walking with Ian when she tells him that she cannot do what she came here to do. She cannot go to her father and just uproot his life. He already has a family now. Maybe she should just go on and let him live his life. Ian does not say anything, but does give her a disapproving look. The next day, Daphne finds her way to Henry's manor. She reaches the gates and is amazed by how extravagant his house is. But when the guard asks what she wants, she just goes away. Daphne finds another way into the property. She climbs up a back wall. Glenys and Clarissa are having tea in the room facing the wall. Clarissa notices someone sneaking around. At first, her mother thinks she is hallucinating. Henry and his mother, Lady Dashwood, walk into the room where the mother and daughter are. Daphne tries to sneak around the property, but Clarissa catches her. She shouts that she is not hallucinating. Henry is livid as he goes in search of the intruder. He thinks it is someone from the press sent to gather dirt on him. He catches Daphne. The girl is shocked to see him. She is about to tell him who she is when he drags her inside and seats her down to interrogate her. He asks her who sent her there, thinking she is some spy. When he realizes she is just a teenage girl, Henry softens. He asks her to take a picture and go. The rest of Henry's family rushes into the room. Daphne tells him she already has a picture of him. She shows him the photograph of Henry from when he was in Morocco. Henry is baffled. Where on earth did this girl get a picture that old? Daphne tells him she got it from her mother Libby and Henry is her father. Everyone is stunned by the revelation, but most of all Henry. Daphne shows him her birth certificate, which has Henry's name on as her father. Shocked to his core, Henry refuses to accept the truth. It must be a mistake. Clennies agrees. She tells Daphne her mother must have mistaken him for some other man. Daphne tells Henry he is the only man her mother has ever thought of. Daphne is heartbroken, but she understands. She is freaking out even though she has had her whole life to accept this truth, but Henry may need time. She decides to leave. Henry is baffled. She has known about this her whole life. He is livid that Libby did not think of telling him about his daughter. Daphne is about to leave when Henry's mother stops her. They cannot let her go after finding out a piece of news this big. Glennies is worried about Henry's election, but that is the last thing on the man's mind. The grandmother decides that she will live with them in their manor. Glennies convenes with Henry. She is absolutely freaking out about this news. She cannot let Daphne's arrival ruin Henry's campaign and her plans to marry him. She and Clarissa are worried about the press making a field day out of this. Henry tells them he was married to Libby when they conceived Daphne. Glennies is shocked to hear about the Bedouin ceremony in Morocco. Henry tells her they had plans to make it official once they got back to Europe. But Libby ran away and broke his heart. The grandmother shows Daphne her room. The girl is absolutely taken by it. It is bigger than her entire apartment. She hugs the grandmother excitedly. Henry finally calls Libby. The woman is so worried. She asks if her daughter is fine. Henry assures her that she is, but how could Libby not tell him about his daughter? Libby tells him if he is afraid Daphne's presence will ruin his political plans, then he should just send her back. That is not what Henry meant. It is about finding out he had a daughter for half his life and he never knew. Libby tells him she did not want Daphne to get hurt. Henry cannot understand why she would say that. Ask your advisors, she tells him and then hangs up. Henry's team plans for damage control. They tell Henry to introduce Daphne as the daughter he has always known but never had a chance to spend time with. Henry thinks, despite having spent only a few moments with Daphne, that she is mature and well-mannered. Daphne, on the other hand, is a wild child. She is jumping around her bedroom and running around the house listening to music on blast. Henry has no idea the surprise he is in for. The house phone rings, and Clarissa runs to answer it. She is hoping it is the boy she likes, but instead it is Ian Wallace for Daphne. He asks for Daphne, but Clarissa tells him Daphne does not live there. She never even passes the message to Daphne. Later, Henry is in his study when Daphne shows up. Henry is startled. He does not know how to act around her. He asks her to call her Henry and not Lord Dashwood. Henry nervously asks Daphne to go to a royal dress show with him. He tells her it is an event where Glennies will launch Clarissa into society. That makes Clarissa sound like a spaceship. Daphne laughs. More like a ballistic missile. Henry jokes. Clarissa is eavesdropping on their conversation this entire time. Daphne accepts the invitation. She gives him a photo album she brought from home. They are pictures from her childhood. When awkward silence befalls, Daphne finally leaves, and Henry opens the album. The first picture he sees is of a baby Daphne with Libby. Seeing Libby's pictures brings up too many painful memories, and Henry sets the album aside. When Daphne wakes up the next day, she cannot believe she has made it to her father's manor. Clarissa takes Daphne to her room to ask her advice on what to wear to the show. She misguides a gullible Daphne and tells her that she will look like a plonker if she shows up in a fancy gown or dress. She should wear something chill and different. Daphne does not think twice before taking Clarissa's advice. When Ian shows up at the manor to meet Daphne, the guard does not let him inside. He goes away, disappointed. Daphne is running late for the event. Everyone is waiting downstairs for her. Glennies rushes Henry and tells him Daphne can come later with the driver. Reluctant to leave her, Henry has no choice but to go. Everyone is dressed elegantly at the fashion show. Prince Harry and William are present there with Prince Charles. It is a very fancy event. Clarissa is sitting with her snobby friends and a guy named Armistead. She likes him and wants his attention. Henry is waiting for Daphne to arrive. Daphne, having taken Clarissa's advice, shows up at the party in completely casual attire. She is wearing jeans and a white camisole with a jacket over it, a bright blue beret on her head. She is denied entrance to the show because she is late. Having no choice, Daphne decides to sneak in. She enters through the back and ends up in the line for the fashion show. She is pushed onto the stage, and everyone is shocked to see her on the ramp. Most of all Henry. Clarissa laughs at the clothes Daphne is wearing. Armistead takes a liking to Daphne. Being the confident girl that she is, Daphne walks the ramp and poses like she is the showstopper. She is the center of the media's attention. At the end of the show, Daphne trips and falls into Prince Charles's lap. Henry is absolutely mortified. Later, when Daphne finds Clarissa, she tells her that she can be her evil stepsister, but Daphne will win in the end. Then, Daphne starts playing with the lady's dog. She introduces herself as Henry's daughter. The lady is shocked to know that Henry has a daughter. She is also shocked to see that her dog, who bites everyone else, loves Daphne. When Henry notices Daphne, he runs to apologize to Princess Charlotte, whose dog Daphne is playing with. The lady has no qualms about it. She likes Daphne too. She asks if she will be staying for the summer. Alistair refuses the idea, but Henry tells her that she will be. His decision upsets both Glenys and her father. Alistair tells Glenys to relax. Daphne will be gone in no time, just like her mother.